Are we live?
We're live. Hopefully no babies will start screaming behind you. There was one a minute ago.
I know, there's screaming, there's music playing. This
Where
is
are
the
you?
life. Where am I?
The business that you're at.
I am at, yeah, we should tag it because we are giving them free promotion. I'm at Blueberry's Grill up around 82nd in Myrtle Beach.
I didn't know they had a location at 82nd.
You did not know that?
I knew they had the one at Barefoot and then the one on 30. Oh no, yes I did. I know the one on 82nd by Starbucks. That's the one.
Yeah.
I thought you were at.
Yeah, that's where I'm at because I had a morning meeting with my business coach this morning at Starbucks, and I love the Brussels sprouts here. So I
did not know they had Brussels sprouts there. I always get the same thing.
They're amazing balls. They are the best. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm at Blueberry's Grill. I'm going for whenever I'm up here. I come for lunch.
We should do a shenanigans around town of who has the best Brussels sprouts because
we should
sprouts too.
Well,
and
so
Felix hates them. He will sometimes allow them to be nearby on the table, but
these aren't the healthiest Brussels sprouts.
Doesn't matter. You can't. They aren't good if they're healthy.
I mean, they've got blue cheese in no, not blue cheese, but blue cheese. I don't know, some kind of white cheese. And bacon and balsamic. It's yummy tasty.
Hey, cheese, but
hey, just broadcasting live our podcast. That's all.
Really? What is this new podcast?
Oh no, this is our. Oh, this is Pat. Hey, everybody, say hi.
Hey.
Who is it? My podcast host.
Nice.
Yeah, we're broadcasting live. We do a 1 o'clock quick tip for salespeople.
Did I just go on live?
Yeah, it's right now.
I thought you were kidding.
No, I'm serious. No, we're live. We're on video.
Ask her if she'd like to promote her business really quick.
Hey, does your boss know where you are? Is that the problem?
No,
I won't even say your name. See ya. We should catch up. This is what happens when you live in a small town.
Yep. So what's going on today? What's our topic?
Okay, so today we are doing a recap of episode number 10. And that was with our honey badger. Remember our honey badger? Honey badger. Our Badger Maps, Steve Benson, CEO of Badger Maps, has a really cool app for salespeople, especially outside salespeople. And his app's really cool because it helps you determine, like, when you're on the road, like, are you near a client that you can stop in and see? It's got all these cool things to it. And I know you were pretty enamored on that episode because you've got an app in production, and we were able to talk technology and app development and how things change and all of that. So he's so cool. I love him.
Yeah, he was really a lot of fun. He was one of the first guys that was like, worried about the women your mother warned you about. I think men sometimes are worried about how much it will sting to be around the women your mother warned you about.
And yet they're really intrigued to do
They are.
Thank you. They're really intrigued to do so. And he started the show we were giving him a hard time because we were talking about Steve. I think he said, "I'm here to be gleaned."
Yeah. Or we were excited about gleaning some knowledge.
Yeah, we were all being gleaned on that episode. So that was an interesting episode. We talked about, pain points in sales. We always ask the men on our shows, for some advice about women in sales. And, one of the things he talked about, especially in tech, because he's in the tech world, that it's really hard to be the first woman in the room, especially in a tech environment. And he talked a lot about kind of just that tech mentality of, usually it's a bunch of guys and, they're playing ping pong and drinking Red Bull. And at least that's the stereotype behind it. So how are you the woman who walks in and, be that woman walking in the room for the first time as a woman?
Yeah, and also how you can work that to your advantage, really. Like, if you're the type of woman that is cool with being the only woman, like, I don't mind that because I'm going to leverage that personally. and see how I can control the room if I'm the only woman there. And there's a lot of women that are intimidated about being in the minority amongst men. And definitely, I mean, my experience in the last couple of years working for a tech company and just witnessing, there's really not a lot of women in the world of tech, or, kind of like just any other, CEOs across the world. Like, there's just less women represented at this time. And there's, becoming a slow shift. And that if you really look at it the right way, you can leverage it in a positive way and say, hey, I'm busting in this joint,
Well, it goes back to like unique selling proposition, right? Like, your unique selling proposition in that situation is you're the only woman in the room.
Yep.
So you stand out. So how do you stand out and make it work for you? And one of the quotes I just love the quote. He said, you're rewarded for being a vector of change. So think about how you can like walk into a room and kind of command the space and be that new person that has new ideas, new perspective from a female point of view, and you'll be rewarded for it eventually.
Because women look at things totally different than men anyway, obviously. But, if you're in a room full of men that are all kind of like jostling for pole position or for alpha male in the room, because that's just kind of how guys sort of do, whether, actually or kind of subconsciously. And here you go walking in the room and you're like, hey, and just how can you join the boys club, so to speak, if you're willing to not be offended by a room full of guys? Like, I'm not.
You know what? What comes to mind, and this could be just something for us women to think about in general. I don't know about you. When I was a little girl, I grew up in a neighborhood of boys, and I was the tomboy. I was like the little girl with all the boys. So I had to adapt to playing with boys and like stand my own.
Oh yeah. I wasn't really like that when I was little, but I prefer the company of men over women just because I find it easier. Like being in a band, being like the girl in the band with all the guys in the band, which is my past. And I mean, my first career of being a dancer, there's generally a tons of girls around in the cast, but I usually gravitated towards the band and hung out with the guys because I don't know, I just always found it a little easier personally. Sometimes, as you and I have found, like, women can be, they put up a little bit more guard. They're more guarded of who they're going to be friends with, or if they have a clique established, allowing you into their clique, which is tough. And like, my daughter's the same. She'd rather hang out with the boys.
Isn't that interesting and sad all at the same time?
Yeah, I know you and I have discussed having a whole entire episode about that, of like, why is it so hard for women to, sometimes women are just tougher than guys. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I'm not sure. It's just
maybe it's just us. Maybe
it's because your mother warned you about us. That's why they're keeping us.
I don't know. I'd like to find a way to stop that and bridge the gap.
Well, and I think some people, I mean, depending on introvert, extrovert, like, some people feel better in a group. Some women love the idea of a group of 10 women out together at dinner, having drinks or whatever. And I remember
that sounds exhausting.
I can remember sitting at dinner with Felix a while back and seeing a group of women, like this big group, and they were having a great time. They looked like they were having so much fun. And I was just kept looking over there, and he's like, what? And I just said, that just looks like, that gives me anxiety. Like, having that many women at once, it gives me anxiety. So that's probably why I usually am not found in large groups of women like that.
That's why it's just you and I.
Mark says women have cliques? No way. Yes. But the other thing that I wonder is, does it, for some people, like for me, I don't need a group of people to make me feel secure. I can be insecure all alone. But But some people feel more secure when they're in a group, like in a tribe that travels together. You know, the sorority kind of feel of things. And I definitely have never. I've never been. I'm definitely more of an introvert. Surprisingly enough.
Have I told you my sorority story?
I think so. Are we going to cry?
Long story short, I rushed, to be in a sorority in college, and not a single sorority chose me. Not one. Not even the sorority in jeopardy of losing their charter, and they were known as the sorority with ugly girls. Not even the ugly girl sorority wanted me.
And so how did you respond to that?
Ultimately, it was right around the time I discovered improv, and I was taking improv classes, and I was commuting back and forth to Chicago because I started out at a school like 70 miles outside of Chicago. And ultimately, improv really got me on a path of changing my major, which really required me to be in the city because I've changed my major to radio and television. So ultimately, I got up and left because I had changed my major to journalism before I changed schools. And all of my roommates, there were 5 of us living in an apartment, they all got into a sorority except for me. And so our apartment turned into like mini sorority because then they had friends with frat guys, and then it was like sorority girls and frat guys in my apartment getting stoned and partying, and I had 8 a.m. classes. So it didn't work out. I just decided to be a GDI, also known as goddamn independent. That's what we were called. So.
And, I definitely was one. I'm looking for this quote right now of on belonging that I wanted to read. But I always kind of had my own ideas about stuff, like from a young age when I decided I wanted to be a dancer. And then when I was in high school that who leaves high school and goes, I want to go somewhere else? Like I went to art school and I just was like on my hands and knees begging, please, 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 mom and dad, let me go. And I remember my friends that I grew up with and went through all of grade school, some of them commenting like, how can you leave us in high school when everything's like the best? And I'm like, well, I have these goals and bye. Off I went to aside from right now, the greatest time of my life. I had so much fun in art school with my friends. Like I cherish those times with people. There's a quote on belonging. Oh, here we go. It's Maya Angelou. You're only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high and the reward is great. And such a great quote, but people that kind of go walk the path, what is it? The road less traveled by. Mm-hmm. It's tough because you want to belong, you want to be a part of things, but yet that this is the path that you're supposed to go on, and it feels right. It feels more right than being sucked into a tribe for some people. And I mean, I guess that's just the way that some of us are made.
Well, I think getting back to your original question, how did I handle that? I think you find where you belong, right? So I didn't belong in the sorority life. All through high school, I was like friends with everybody and friends with every clique, not in one clique. I think that's just who I have always been, which is why I have been successful. So no judgment if you're, a group of women that want to flock together. That's great. As long as you're lifting other women, and that's the problem. It's a problem when they're not lifting each other and recognizing each other's strengths and weaknesses, applauding the strengths. I go back to everything Paige Spiranac says about giving compliments. It's not just about giving compliments about the way you look, but propping somebody up and saying, awesome job, girl. Keep it going.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, the world of real estate and the world of coaching as well I think women are pretty well represented in both of those worlds. It's not really, there's so many female realtors, there's so many male realtors. And I would even say there's a pretty decent balance of brokers in charge. I mean, my broker in charge is a female and she's freaking rocks the world, Bree. Florida, but like I think that it's great that those couple of industries are represented well with women, but tech, not so much. And why is that? I'm not really sure, but heck yeah. Like my daughter talked about learning coding and I'm like, oh yeah, you'll always have work if you learn coding.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, and she'll be able to stand out. That'll be a unique selling proposition. Any woman, any little girl that you can get into STEM right now, they're going to stand out, and they're still going to struggle a little bit with the reality that is a reality of stereotyping and boys clubs and things like that. But she'll have the advantage as being a girl who can do that. Hey, by the way, today our episode with Jared Glantz from Grant Cardone's organization. That episode went live today. And just so you know, I did text Jared earlier today to tell him it was up. And he responded and said, great, thanks for the heads up. So excited about that. It was awesome having Jared on the show. That episode is now live and available, episode number 19.
Yes. And he is Grant Cardone's right-hand guy. And, the whole Cardone organization is just a monster of sales. If you've been living under that proverbial rock and have not heard of Grant Cardone's organization, then all you got to do is like Google Cardone and you'll see tons and tons of great sales material. I know they have a Cardone University and all kinds of great sales coaching stuff. And he's just like, I love listening to Cardone's audiobooks because he's just on fire. Like,
yeah, he is.
If you need a fire lit under your ass, then just go get one of his audiobooks on Audible.
Sometimes I gotta be mentally.
Why am I so lazy? Oh my God, I've slept too much.
I gotta be mentally ready sometimes to listen to him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes you need Zen, and sometimes you need Cardone.
Kind of like being mentally ready to like go to the gym with Rachel Pitts.
But yet in Jared's episode, he does actually get into the work-life balance thing because he discusses a little bit in the beginning part of the episode what a brutal schedule that these guys keep. Yeah. But yet family is important, and having, making that time for family is important. And he has a really great way of suggesting, making some suggestions of how to go about that, which are pretty profound. It's interesting. Yeah,
such a great episode. Just to kind of recap again on episode 10 with our honey badger. I just like to call him a honey badger, Steve Benson. Check out his app, Badger Maps. And one of the things that he also said was the average field sales rep is losing 8 hours of productivity behind the wheel every week. And that's what really inspired him. So anybody in outside sales, you might want to go back and listen to that episode with him. He also has a podcast, which, by the way, I'm going to be on. I mean, I was on it. It just hasn't aired. Like, he's so backed up. It's like it airs in July. Like, okay. So
it's late for me to like podcast bomb.
Yeah. So go check that out. Warner World. You want to talk about Warner World?
Warner World is launching on Monday. It is our membership Facebook group where you will get a few things from Gina and I, just a little bit closer access to us. We can answer some of your questions and help give you some personalized coaching on things you're struggling with. We'll have a monthly webinar and also be giving you a couple $100 worth of bonuses, including Gina's spontaneous selling 1.0, which I've been gently and sometimes not so gently poking the bruise of getting Gina to finish that, because it's really great. Some of her, I've been studying her improv for business techniques for years and years, and I think it's of great value to anybody in sales and business just to learn some of those techniques. Spontaneous Selling 1.0. And then because I spent 20 plus years in the fitness industry and I have these things that I can provide for you that are already pre-done, if you're trying to get yourself back in gear, this is the perfect time to start to get into bathing suit season for summer. So we're going to give to you my 5-day kickstart program and the 10-day accelerator program that can help catapult you into your fitness regime for the warmer months.
We're also excited. It's only $20 a month, but if here's how we're bribing some of you. We need some more reviews on our shows on iTunes. So if you go out, write a review, we will give you 3 months free in the program. $60.
And furthermore, you actually will probably learn something from some of these podcasts. Sometimes I will admit, some in the beginning, sometimes Gina would have these guests booked and I'd be like,
don't name any names.
Who is this? I've learned that I just have to trust. And because every single guest I've really learned so much from and been, I've really learned the lesson of like, don't ever judge anybody because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got some sort of value they can provide from their perspective. And I've just been blown away by what I learned and taken away and begun to apply immediately from some of these great guests.
No kidding. I've applied so much from these episodes, including several that haven't even aired yet that are coming up. I think Ziegler is next week. We've got Jerry Acuff coming up. Which is so much good stuff, and I'm like applying it all.
Yeah,
I feel almost guilty, but not really. So it's really cool having access to really awesome experts. Yep.
And if you guys, let's see, is there one book by Cardone you would suggest to start with? Any of them are great. I love the 10X and God, what's the other one that I started with? The one that I started with was, let me look and see.
I started with 10X.
Did you start with 10X? There was another one that I had where he's sitting on the airplane and it's really, he goes actually a little bit more into his story. And it's called, I'm looking through my Audible files. Oh, Be Obsessed or Be Average. That one, I actually like that one better than 10X because he kind of goes a little bit into his story of how he got to be the way he was. And he, once again, like most great success stories, he wasn't always like that, man. He had to work through some muck through some shit, man. He had to do the Shawshank Redemption, like paddle through the shit storm to get to where he is. And I think that that's one of the things that makes great people so great is that they didn't start there. It didn't come easy. And they had to really work for it. So Be Obsessed or Be Average, Tina, or 10X, or anything else.
That actually reminds me, I had I met with my business coach this morning, and I think everybody needs a coach. We talked about Popeye moments. I'm going to send you an article on that. But these Popeye moments that come up through your life and your career, you don't always realize what people are going through to get to the next place. You know, you get to one point, you're succeeding, then you plateau, then maybe you go down into a valley, then you come back up, and through that process, you're going to
like.
Huh? What?
I said, what's that like?
What? No, we never go through that. So those Popeye eye-opening moments that then catapult you. So you got to kind of go through some of the muck to get out of it.
Well, and what's interesting in today's world is we are quicker to jump to the assumption that people just have this beautiful fairy tale life because of what we see on social media. Just because I have amazing Paris photos doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and roses. But everybody that you see, and we tend to put our best foot forward on social media in general, so then we don't think people have the struggle. Whereas prior to social media and everything, everybody was just a little more quiet and mucked through their shitstorm on their own, But everybody's got a story.
We all got our muck. So back to Warner World. If you want to sign up for Warner World, you can go to warner-world.com. We had to do the hyphen because without it, it was like millions of dollars for the domain. So I guess world is a very common word in domain land. So warner-world.com. Go sign up for that and have continuous access to us, which who wouldn't want that?
For sure. And also leave us a review if you'd like to try to grab 3 months free membership. And also, heck, let us know what you want to hear about. We'd love to know what topics you struggle with and how we can help you. If you would like to vie for a spot as a guest on our show, reach out to one of us. You can email women@womenyourmotherwarnsyouabout.com, visit our website and find that easily, or just reach out to us on social media. We're pretty much around most of the time.
Tomorrow coming up again, 1 o'clock Eastern here on Facebook Live. We are talking about my favorite topic. Don't be a troll with Trimarco.
Nice. If any of you out there has one of those like old school troll dolls from the 80s laying around, please just send it our way. It's her favorite topic. There will be an upcoming course called whatever.
Trimarco's Trolls. Trimarco's Trolls.
Something, because it gets you so, you got to do the things that you're the most passionate about. So you have a lot of passion.
Trimarkable Trolls. I want to get rid of the trolls. So you like that? Oh, your eyes popped.
I liked it. Like the sound of that. Quick, buy the domain.
Trimarkable Trolls. All right, I have to do something. I don't know what's next. I have another meeting. I have sales calls. You and I are shenaniganing tonight at Carolina Improv. So we will we'll pop back on live later tonight at the Improv. We don't know what will happen there. So
till then, pick up the phone.
Go make some calls.
All right, have a great day. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye. I can't.